We'll call the meeting to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. I'll introduce the panel members first. Laurie Davidson to my left, Harvey Diamond to my far left. Our assessor today will be Jonathan Spazak, and our administrative assistant today will be Carrie Balshaw. I'm Marcel Larondo. I'll be chairing. We'll be hearing applications for revision of assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Act. Matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application. We will limit the discussions to those matters. Statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony. Anyone speaking to the matter must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessment of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council, is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decision with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to an application of exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by the questions that the applicant may have. Then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. Please swear to me. And put your phones on silent, please.
Always is.
Mine usually is from the day before.
Do you swear the evidence you present against the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
Bradford Scott Works.
And do you swear the evidence you present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
First item on the docket today will be 611 Academy Road, amount of assessed value. When you are ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have roll number 120718154000. This is 611 Academy Road. This is right where Academy hits Keniston Boulevard. You can see a picture of the layout of the two buildings on this roll number on my page 2 and 3. We have a 2020 value of $3,573,000. And sorry, Kara, I do have a recommendation for this one. I'd like to hand over the laptop. I should have given it to you before. And I think Brad already has one.
Okay.
So there's 4.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I am asking to reduce the value from $3,573,000 to $2,983,000. I will go over the major differences in a second, what I've changed, but just to continue with the building, we have 2 buildings on this property. So if you turn to page 2, you can see the building towards the top of the smaller original building, top of my page on this roll number. It's a smaller building. It was built in 1918 with, after some updates, we have effective year of 1960 on it. And then the second building on the property is the larger one in the middle of the page, and it was built in 1965 with an effective year of 1980. So between these 2 buildings, we have a leasable area of 27,373, and we have you can get a better view at the bottom of page 2. They've had a longer term tenant in that farther brick building, the Canadian Centre for Child Protection, and then the middle building has had a different tenant in it that left, and then they were looking for tenants, and then I'll give the updated situation on that once I get to the vacancy. But those are the 2 buildings that are under this roll number, as you can see. Page 5, nothing important. Page 6 is the original income workup for the property. So if you look at my new income workup and compare it to the old one, I'm actually using everything the same except for I am adjusting the vacancy on this property. So we have our standard OFS parameters for this property, blended rate of $10.68. But again, what I have adjusted for this property is the vacancy. So you can use my updated sheet to see the going forward what I'm asking for be confirmed at. the vacancy goes from 5.5% to 15%, so that's the big change. Everything else stays the same. Expenses 2%, shortfall $7, and capitalization rate 7.2% across both buildings. So the reason for the adjustment in vacancy, I guess, is the important one on this. I believe we are close on rent. The vacancy is, the issue is with the larger building. So a tenant left in, from my understanding, 2014 from the larger building. And it had some high vacancy in the building since, ranging from 25% to last cycle that building being empty as of the reference date led to about a 75% vacancy rate. I did look going forward, as I noticed the appellant was asking for higher vacancy, so I did research it. And from my understanding is the owner has decided to move into it applied for an occupancy permit April 25th, 2018, so just slightly after the reference date. The owner of the property, the Jags Development Limited, requested 11,963 square feet of that main large building. So they requested occupancy as soon as possible. So I saw they were moving into 11,000 of the square feet. I saw that the Canadian Child Services, the building work was being done in the larger building for them to move, to expand from the smaller building to the larger building. And so the physical condition of the building was upgraded. Vacancy was gonna be lower. I used a 15% vacancy to represent that. 2014 to the reference date, April 18, just to represent that, hey, this building did have some vacancy issues, but in my opinion, by next cycle, it should be looked after. We'll go back to model. It's not a chronic vacancy issue where it's gonna keep being a very high percentage. So that's my position on the vacancy. For the rent there, again, there was not a large issue, but I did on page 7 put together some comparables along Roblin, Corden, Harrow, and Academy. Another one on 1700 Ness. We have a range of comparables in the area. My average was 1441, but our model for this larger size of building, and one of the buildings being older, one of the buildings being nicer, the 1068 blended rate was $10.68 blended rate was fine with me. So that's our model rate of 1068. We do have our capitalization rate sheet on page 9. Again, I won't go too deep into it, I went over it 100 times, but suburban OFS is what I would consider this building, and that's our third and fourth row of office cap rates. So our city ones are, again, taking out the 20th and 80th percentile, we're between 6.2 and 7.3. Our property is at a 7.2, this one, again, a 7.2. The mailer is filled out. This is the 2017 mailer on page 11. You can see the rental income is gross. The annual expenses on the property are reported, and the average space vacant as of the reference date due to that large building being empty was at 75% for that year. So again, that's why the higher vacancy there, and I am trying to represent that with my recommendation. So we have on page 13 the Canadian Centre for Child Protection. This lease is signed from 2015 to 2018. It's a gross lease, but they were in there since 2012 from my understanding. So they've always been in that smaller building. I have included my addenda on page 15 going forward. If you have any questions, that is my presentation. Thank you.
Brad, are you taking the?
Yeah, we're still quite a ways apart on this one, so I very much appreciate Mr. Spacek's office, and I think we'll proceed with the hearing.
Okay, could I just ask you, I'm just opening your file, it's 2,630,000 you have as
That's a typo, we haven't gotten to it yet, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then move on.
It should read 3573.
Okay. You know me, I just fussy on numbers. On with your question.
Thank you. Now, I know that I'm trying to keep this short. I know that we've all talked forever and debated the issue of capitalization rates. So can we, and it's different hearings, but can we apply all the previously asked questions about model capitalization rates here as well?
Do you want to go through the cap stuff that Altus has, or are you okay with it? We've all heard their presentation.
I have to.
You have to, we're good.
Okay.
You don't have to repeat it, and I know Jonathan's heard it.
Unless Jonathan wants to talk about it.
No, that won't be necessary.
Okay, so Mr. Spacek is quite correct. We are close on rents. And you indicated that, and you went through it fairly quickly, but you indicated that the owner applied post-reference for an occupancy permit for some of the space in the larger building, correct?
Yes, April 25th, 2018, the owner applied.
As of the reference date, though, the entire building was vacant, right?
From my understanding, yes, it was mostly
Okay.
vacant. I'm not sure,
So-
yeah.
And so if that building is 20,756 square feet in size,
Yes,
okay, and so you indicated that they were going to occupy 11,963 square feet. They had
Yes.
applied post-reference to occupy that space.
yes,
That leaves us, by my calculations, with still 8,793 square feet vacant.
yes,
correct?
and, yes.
And so that would be significantly higher, that would still exceed 25% vacancy, correct?
Yeah, at the time of the reference date, for sure, yeah.
And then you further indicated that the child find was going to move into that space as well? correct?
There is a portion of the space that the current tenant in the smaller building is
Yeah.
moving into the main building.
And so we
And-
still, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and then there's a new, the work being done again. It was, in my opinion, empty because the owner was getting work done on the rest of the space for new tenants in the future. So there are ones moving in that will be dealt with next.
So we
feels like.
have still then, if Child Five moves into a portion of the remaining 8,793 square
Yes.
feet, that leaves the rear building then fully vacant, and we're still more than 25% vacant space.
No, they're staying in the rear building from my understanding.
As well?
Yes, expanding, yes.
How much
Are we
space-
not just talking post? stuff
Yes,
right
well,
now?
And I understand his position, he's trying to recognize physical condition. I agree with your point about post-reference. I'm just trying to establish, sitting there April 1st, what would a potential purchaser be looking at? So,
Okay, you're both
Yeah.
using it, so.
Yeah, and just my 2 cents on it too is, this owner that owns this building is, we're so close on this moving in date, and any purchaser can understand what's happening to this property. The owner knows what he's doing. If he's leaving it vacant to renovate it, that's part of the process, so, but yes, but I agree that we are speaking slightly post-reference.
And so, as of the reference date, for the 4 years, give or take, leading up to it, we were at 75% vacancy in this property, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure on the exact percentage, but yes, it was a high vacancy for 4 years, and which I'm trying to represent with 15%.
Now, if we take a look at your page 2, this, and the top picture in particular, this particular site is oddly configured, right?
Yes, they're sharing an entrance.
Yes, and so that's, the adjacent property isn't owned by this owner, correct?
No, it's a separate owner.
And so, yes, that's true. And so, any potential purchaser would then require access over that. Is that something that would impact on the potential risk for this property?
I'm sure there's, yeah, it's gotta be taken into account that you have to go down that back lane for its own entrance, and then using that front entrance is shared, so.
Well, and in fact, the front property, when you look at it, there is, on the bottom picture, there is no parking on the Academy Road side of the property, or the south side of the building. So they have to drive across the adjacent property just to get access parking for the front building.
Absolutely, it's not ideal sized lot, like, it's not perfectly shaped lot.
And the model cap rate doesn't account for quirks like that, does it?
It is not taking into account that has to be manually, like the 7.2,
Yeah.
right, is
Okay.
however we get to it.
And those are my questions, thank you.
Harvey?
Okay, so is this entrance, the unusual access, has that been available for more than 21 years?
The front entrance here?
Yeah.
I'm sure they use it, I'm not sure on their exact situation. I know that this one, the property beside it owns it.
Right, and the building's been there for more than 21 years, so
Yes,
to get
absolutely.
access, they must be using that access.
Yeah, like there's no signs that you cannot enter if you're this building.
And you know the common law, that a person who uses access for 21 years or more has got a prescriptive right of access,
I did not know that, but.
prescriptive easement by prescription.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And why would the vacancy be left at only 15% when it was, so high for such a long time?
And that's where it's kind of a judgment call where from 2014 to 18 it was higher.
Right.
to go to the actual vacancy for that time, like our highest vacancy I've ever seen on a property is 25%.
Right.
And that's when it's like, say, a building that has not been occupied, unoccupiable, it's like for 10 years, for example, like nobody's gonna enter it. In this situation, we have a property that has had 4 years of high vacancy. That 15% is often what I'll put there to represent the higher vacancy that the owner has, because it's gonna go back to model before and after that, which if it's 100% occupied and we're giving 5 to 8% every year, in my mind, it's just, 15% is a fair middle ground for a property that has a higher vacancy for a short period of time.
Okay. And we'll go back to model anyway, no matter what happens.
We could-
Provided it has been leased up in the interim.
We have properties that are overridden every year, like if we know it's an issued property and it gets chronic vacancy of like 20 to 25%,
Right.
that can be looked at and applied to go forward, but on one like this, where I know it's just a blip in its long-term picture,
Right.
it's gonna go back to the model vacancy rate the next cycle.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Questions?
Lori?
Just a clarification, so in this building, is it one owner and one tenant, or what?
So this whole property is one owner, both buildings. It is leased, that smaller building has been leased since 2012, continually to be leased. And they were looking for a tenant in that main building. Nobody was going in there, so the owner is now occupying 11,000 square feet of it. And then the tenants will make up the rest of that main building. So that main building is split up, and it's been what's the word? Updated to be multi-tenant, like, you know, it's split up into whatever tenants are gonna move in there in the future.
So for the future, it's built for,
Yeah, it's a multi-tenant setup, yeah. It's gonna be multiple tenants in that large building,
okay, thank you.
no problem.
On your page 13, that's the lease for Child Find.
Yes.
What were they paying rent per square foot? My eyes, I guess.
They're paying 11,463 a month,
Yeah. Which comes up to how much a square foot?
and so gross is, 1 sec.
2079.
2079 gross? Yeah, 2079 gross.
That's gross. What's in that? Have you figured out in that?
Depends on how you calculate it.
We got you've got the annual property recovery in there too, don't you? The tax?
No, if you.
No, they just, oh, sorry.
I'm
Sorry,
asking you.
yeah, they're just
Yeah,
paying
no,
gross.
I'll just sit here, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I believe the appellant did work it up for his, like, you'd have to, however you wanna look at the expenses to take them off. Approximately 1379 net, approximately, I'm using the appellant's number that he's worked up for or is that for a different, that's for this one? Yeah, 6,617 square feet, so, again,
So right now, how many square feet is it? They're leasing 11,000?
no, they're leasing, that building is, let me just double check with you, it is, I have it right here, 6,617 square feet.
And yet none of those show up on your potential rents.
It's, yeah, so it's actually the second PID and the third one, so 5,391
Yeah.
plus 1,226, you can see that second smaller PID is a storage space with, like, storage mezz space in that building, so we have it at a lower rent, but,
7,400. Okay,
we're at approximately $8, $9 for that space.
and where'd you get the storage? What did you use for computer?
It's from 720, it's at 724 model driven, mezz, like mezz storage.
Did you bring us anything?
To defend the storage or
Defend
mezz,
the
no, I don't
storage.
have any comparables for that, that was just model driven for 1,200 square feet.
Okay,
And then the other 3 PIDs are that main building, the 3 premises that approximately it's split up.
good. On with the presentation. Brad?
Thank you. And so we took a look at this property and maybe start at page 3. That's a picture of the site looking to the north. The street in front of that is obviously Academy Road. The front building is the larger, newer one. That one was actually built in 1965. The rear building was built in 1918. And so obviously the systems, mechanical systems within the rear building will be deficient. You don't see any rooftop HVAC, et cetera, in that building. The front building, you'll see a number of units on the top. And the assessor has already described that the property experienced elevated vacancy rates. So the issue, the rent is close, you can quibble about it, but we're about 50 cents apart. I took a look at that on page 9. And the actual rent in place works out to $20.79 a square foot. It is an escalated rent as of August of 16. The expenses were unclear to me. It is in fact an entirely gross rent, and when you look at the income expense questionnaire, they pay $11,463.95 per month, so the 95 that appears under the property tax recovery is actually belongs with the monthly rent, so it's an entirely gross rent for them. We took a look at some rental comparables on page 10. Obviously much newer buildings, certainly better situated, much more parking available. The land to building ratio for this property, for this amount of office space, is only 2.28 to 1. That's deficient in my mind. And so that's another component that we would consider in terms of certainly risk and potential attractiveness to the tenants. The fact that it sat vacant between, the larger building sat vacant, sat vacant between 2014 and still vacant as of the reference date is certainly an indication that there is not a great demand for this building in this location. So if you're a purchaser standing there as of April 1st of 2018, you know that it's got 75% vacancy and it's been like that for 4 years. Going forward, you don't know what's going to happen, but you certainly wouldn't stabilize it at or project in perpetuity 15%. There is some element of risk there associated. I've elected in this case to go with a 25% vacancy reflecting that. Certainly for the 2018 appeal would not have been considered, and going forward, if it is in fact fully occupied and alleviated, that will be fixed then, but you can't simply ignore 4 years of vacancy. That's why we have a 2-year assessment cycle, and that's why we apply 25% here. Moving on to page 11, shortfall rate at $7, that's the departmental model for OFS. I didn't have multiple years of this property for the analysis, and so we applied $7 for shortfall. Non-recovered, we've had that discussion since September. We continue to use 7%, and the capitalization rate here. This building, if you look at our page 15, I indicated that the front building was built in 1965 and the rear building was built in 1918. The city doesn't separate out those income streams. So what they've done, they've actually assigned an overall effective year built at the top just under OFS of 1962. That reflects sort of the overall property as a whole. So based on the age, the issue with the land building ratio, I would continue to argue that access over an adjoining property is an issue of risk. The vacancy in here is addition. The 25% allowance, given the 73 or 5% vacancy in here, is also a risk. We've gone with 7.5% based on our office capitalization rate study. Another issue I wanted to address with vacancy. Oh, now, I know Mr. Spychek addressed the issue of vacancy and departmental policies. I can tell you that I am aware of several municipal board appeals regarding elevated vacancy rates. I can tell you that in those decisions, they noted that the department's 25% maximum vacancy was a policy only. It's not a written policy, it was a policy only, and they have in fact applied rates exceeding 25% in some circumstances. Certainly in these circumstances for this reassessment, 25% I think is well supported. So we are looking for a reduction based on all of that, showing the mathematics on page 12, $1,947,000. Thank you.
Jonathan, questions?
I have no questions on this one, thank you.
Lori?
I have no questions, thank you.
Harvey?
I have no questions.
I'm good. That'll conclude the matter on the property at 611 Academy Road.
390?
The next one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the next one's 390 Academy.
Sorry, I realize that the assessor has to read the information into the record, but this property is undergoing significant renovations and we're just looking for confirmation.
Okay, so we did.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have roll number 1205-00-59000, 390 Academy Road, 2020 assessment, $3,146,000.
Confirm?
Yeah, based on our submission, we'll be having discussions. Significant permits have been taken out on this, and there's basically a use change.
You've got no problem with that? Jonathan?
I'm fine with that.
Thank you. That'll conclude the matter for 390 Academy Road. Forget the paperclip, I'd be doing just fine. Next property on our agenda, 75 Skurfield. It's this amount of assessed value, and you are ready, Jonathan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're looking at roll number 03-065-153700. This is 75 Skurfield Boulevard. This is located between Waverly and Dovercourt, as you can see on my page 2. We have a 2020 assessment at $5,146,000. This is a one-story suburban office building built in 1993 with an effective year of 2000. This is updated. There's a variety of permits ranging in value from $30,000 to $600,000 over the years, and at some point it was, the effective year was bumped up 7 years to represent those changes. The gross floor area and leasable area is 24,000, or sorry, the leasable area is 24,594. You can see pictures of this property on page 2. It's a very standard kind of, one-story office building out in the Skurfield area. See the parking at the back, and the front is located on page 3. Page 4 is our model workup. Again, this is all model driven. We have multiple sizes of units ranging from 1,500 up to 9,100, total of 24,594 square feet. We have a blended rate of $15.12 for this property. Vacancy loss of 5.5%, expenses 2%, shortfall $7, and an overall model-driven cap rate of 6.55%. That's how we get that total value of $5,113,000. I'm just noting now, it's just slightly lower than our $5,146,000, so there was a slight adjustment at some point. I will be defending the actual income approach here. You can see my income workup of $5,113,000, so it's slightly lower than the $5,146,000 that was sent out. Page 6, I've put together a list of comparables along Skurfield, Dovercourt, Chevrier, try to keep it right in that area. We have, OFS is ranging and built, and Flex Warehouse built from '89 up until 2008. We have a wide range of rents from $12. The majority of them are from $12 to $16. Our subjects at the high end of the model-driven 15-12, but again, right within range there. Page 7 is just another workup of that income value summary. Page 8 is our capitalization rate sheet again. We are at 6.55 for this property. Again, using the same OFS list that I went through on the last property. You can see on page 10, we do have a list of actual reported rents in the building. So there are net leases in the building, and I will point out a couple things. The actual leases in place range from $10.79. 2 of them are at $12.50, and one of them is at $16.50 a square foot. And there's actually, if you look at the middle, there's 2 storage units, 6A and 6B. These are vacant, and they're considered storage. So that 1,400 square foot unit 6A and 1,100 units storage 6B are being represented by our model as again, fully finished units, but you can see we have two 1,500 square foot units there on our income page at $16.55. So, I don't deny that there are two units that are storage and, they're being, modeled as, fully, occupied finished space, but, office space. Page 11, you can see the actual, reported rental income, you see the operating cost recovery, you can see their net revenue, you can see operating costs, and you can see their total reported NOI of $295,840. And that is all the evidence I've included. I just have my addenda. If you have any more questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Brad, questions?
Just a few. Subject property is, other than the vacant space, tenant occupied.
Yes.
And the leases that are in place are the rents that are legally allowed to be collected by the landlord and the owner, correct?
From my understanding, yes.
And it's the amount of rent that the tenant is obligated to pay, yes?
That's the net rent in place, yes.
And any potential purchaser of this property would similarly be obligated to accept those rents for the period of the term of lease.
I would assume so, yes.
Now, this property, or are you aware that this property has suffered significantly elevated vacancy rates over the past number of years leading up to the reference date?
I was aware there was some vacancy in the building, yes.
And you didn't look at it?
I mean, I looked and saw there was some vacancy, yes, but
But
I did not make an
previously
adjustment.
over the historical?
Yeah, historical, absolutely.
And in fact, quite a bit higher than is currently vacant in here, right?
Yeah, from my understanding, it's worked its way down to approximately 10% vacancy for the last few years.
Right, 10.46.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you've indicated that, I'm a little confused, you indicated that those are storage spaces?
Well, I'm saying it's reported as storage, vacant, they're reported as storage.
But and so, wouldn't there be an adjustment required to the model rates applied to those spaces?
Yeah, I'm not, again, I'm not doing this one, I've never been to this building, I'm not sure what exactly is in vacant, if it's purely empty room that could be changed to office, or if it's just empty office that's used as storage. I don't know the exact situation of those things, so I can't tell you what adjustment should be made.
Okay, and those are my questions, thank you.
Harvey?
No questions, thank you.
Lori?
No questions, thank you.
Let's move on to your presentation.
Okay, so we show some pictures of the property overheads and some physical description of the property on our pages 3 and 4. The assessor has already gone over it, and so I will move on to the actual rents in place. This is based on the information submitted on behalf of the owner to the city in response to the request for information for the income expense questionnaires. Rents. You'll see there that all of the rents fall within a range dating from 2013 onward. There's one step in there that was in July of 2017, and then there was a lease in January of 15 that was actually stepped subsequently. The lease rates that we show are actually the stepped rates as of the reference date. Show on page 8 there, 6A, 6B, those are the vacant storage units. And I just want to take you to page 22 of our submission. This is a listing, an offering for lease dating back to 2013. And if we take a look at page 23, you'll see there an outline of the space. They show there the offering, that's a corner unit. And so what was actually leased out excludes the sort of top left corner. That's the part that's left vacant there. So it is not really accessible. The front part has been occupied. And you can see there on page 24 a little more description of what it was in that space that was being offered for lease. So we took a look, as I asked the assessor about vacancy on page 9. I've actually dealt with this property in previous appeals, and I can tell you that it has experienced elevated vacancy Historically, they've managed to get it down to 10.46%. That's still the case from 2015 onward. Certainly, a 7-year period of time is something you're gonna need to recognize as a purchaser or potential purchaser. The last 3 years leading up to the reference date and including as of the reference date, 10.46%, we've stabilized it at 10. $7 is the model shortfall, 7% for non-recovered. In this particular case,
You're on your page 11, right? Is that where you jumped to now?
I was on page 9 there.
All right, okay.
And then page 10 is our capitalization rate for this property with its updating. 7% is the capitalization rate based on our cap rate study. Go through the mathematics on page 11. We're looking for a reduction based on the 7 cap and the 10% vacancy down to $3,289,000. And I think, oh, there we go. So on page 15, I skipped over that a little quickly. So page 15 actually gives you a little better description of where 6A and 6B are within this property. So with that, I am open for questions.
I have no questions on this one, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Lori?
What were the main drivers of the higher vacancy rate or the high
They were
vacancy
having
rate
trouble
you're
leasing it
using?
out. It was undergoing some, I'll call it an evolution, where they were, it was a flex warehouse, it's now been, and it's not unusual in this area, to have a flex warehouse actually fully fitted out its office, and they were going through an evolution like that, and they were trying to lease it up, and they suffered, obviously, historically elevated vacancy rates. They've got it down to 10.46, which we're reflecting, we're not asking for higher. But they were, it was, the building was going through an evolution over that period of time.
Is that consistent with the rest of these types of properties on Scurfield?
Some yes and some no. You'll see varying degrees of finish in there. Some along Scurfield will have almost like a retail showroom at the front, and then more warehouse space at the back. That's not the case here. Any warehouse space in here is, in my mind, fairly minimal. It's office space, more or less.
Okay, thank you very much.
Harvey?
Yeah, looking at the city's page 11, is that figures from the owner showing what their net operating income was in their books? The 295, 840?
I believe that's correct, yeah.
Okay, so that's from them, that is their NOI, based on the rents that actually being achieved.
Right, but there's a number of
And
things in there that are not included, the shortfall, the non-recoverable,
Okay,
and so it's almost like an apples to oranges comparison.
okay, so you have the, okay. Thank you.
On your page 15, the 6A and 6B would have access from outside in the back then? 'Cause
I believe that's
The way
correct.
they've done it now,
Yeah.
they've got 8 has become a unit.
And I do show, and I very.
I'll get to my question.
Okay, so I just, for illustration, I took a picture on page 5, that shows the rear.
Okay, but to get to the 10%,
Yeah,
they've used those 2 storages as rented out now. So that brought the vacancy down, didn't it?
no, not, those 2 units are not rented out, those 2 units remain vacant.
I thought you said the storage was being used.
No,
Well, it's not being used.
no.
They just created 2 storage units. So the storage units are vacant as well as unit 8.
No, Unit 8 is outlined there, and that's what they leased out as part of the Colliers offering. But when you look at the rent roll,
It's just,
so the rent roll is on page 19.
but you show it as vacant on your page 23.
20. Right, and that dates back to 2013. Okay. But as of December 31st of 2017, the rent roll we showed on page 19. so the two vacant units are 6A and 6B. The other ones are occupied and paying rent.
So the vacant space is now considered to be storage.
That's what they've identified it as.
So would that not lower that 10% because you're going to a lesser rent on a storage unit? So you don't really have a 10% vacancy if you're
Well,
taking,
you have a 10% vacancy, and I take your point that in terms of dollars, the vacancy dollars might be lower,
yeah.
but not the shortfall. The operating costs are gonna be the same. But I take your point about that.
But shouldn't we take into account, when we're increasing it to 10% vacancy, shouldn't we take into account that the vacant part is just storage?
Perhaps, yeah.
So we might be a little higher on our vacancy at 10%
In terms of dollars.
in terms of
Yeah,
dollars.
it's actually 10.46
Yeah.
right now, yeah.
We're using the actual there. I'm sorry, I'm slow this
No,
one.
no. We're making good time here.
Can't break it. Good. Good. No further questions. Anything in summation?
Not for me.
No thanks.
Thank you very much. That'll conclude the matter for 75 Fairfield. We'll move on to 1619 Pembina Highway, please. And it's the amount of assessed value. When you are ready, Jonathan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are looking at roll number 0306591800. This is 1619 Pembina Highway, located south of Chevrier. We have a 2020 value of $4,374,000. This property does have an exemption split, so that's why you see two lines on page one. So the first line, 2020 April 1st, 2018, assessed value $2,064,000. That's going to be a separate income stream than the one below it, $2,310,000. The reason for this is you see that on the right-hand side, liability exempt and taxable. So a portion of this building is used as a daycare, which is exempt. So the way our system does it is we have to have separate income streams to represent the taxable versus non-taxable. So I will explain those two as we go through, but it's the total value that we're looking at today. So this property was built in 1966. We have an effective years built of 1977. And in the 2012, there is just this property actually, even though it's suburban, we do have an income stream on it as they are continually reporting a charge for the parking that's with the building and across the back lane. So we do have that 2012 there, but that's just representing when the parking lot was added. That's nothing to do with the actual effective year of the building at all. So we're looking at a 1975 built building according to our model, and that's what our model is looking at. So this building has a gross floor area of 31,520 square feet, and this is a leasable area of 24,264. There's also 6,304 square feet of that as basement. So if you look on page 3, you can see where the building is laid out on the piece of land. You can actually see on this building how it was brought to my attention when I looked through the appellant's brief. I didn't even realize it, but across the back lane, there's an empty parking lot. That parking lot's associated with the building, so there is a lot value in a situation like this where we do, if in a perfect world, this would be one roll number, right? The owner owns both, uses the parking lot as parking. From a quick look, and I tried to determine exactly how many spots were on the actual lot, but when you're suburban, there's a requirement for office and daycare. It was, from my first calculation, it did not meet that standard just on the lot itself. So I consider the parking across the back lane as a part of the unit, one economic unit. So the appellant has actually asked to have that parking lot value be removed from the income stream, and I'm fine with that in this situation. It's one where I'm going to actually put a request going forward to merge these lots together, have it as one, because actually the property that's just north of it, yeah, the property that's just north of it actually has the same situation where they have across the back lane parking, and it's one roll number. So I believe this is a situation where something like that should, could help this going forward, so we don't have to request it be removed every time. The parking lot is not under appeal as well, so I'm fine with the value that you'll see in the appellant's brief, the value of that lot, and I'm fine with it being removed. That's just a little side point. The property itself, you can see exactly where it's located. So we do have 3 income streams for this property, so I'll go through it the best order I can. We have it on page 5 here. We do have 20 stalls being reported for actually income on this property, so you'll see in the mailer they're receiving income. We have a parking lot on here, 20 stalls, $30 net for suburban parking. Works out to that total annual net rent of $7,260. So that's again after expenses and everything. And then we have a 5.5% cap rate on suburban lots, and that's so our added value to this building is $131,000 for having the income attributed to the parking. All
But you
right.
said you'd take that off.
No, what I'm doing is I'm taking the value of the lot off, but we're still including that income. This is how we're including the income for the parking, but that extra land that's being assessed separately, because it's not part of the roll number, where I'm okay, it's like 324,000 or something like that. It's being requested off by the appellant. I forget the exact number, but after we come to a value for this building on this lot, I'm saying we need to take the value of that separate parking lot off. But we're including in creating the total value, the income that's being reported by the owner through parking.
I might have some questions on that. Continue, please.
Yeah, sure. Page number 6 is our income stream for this property. So we have 2 income streams. As I said, one is exempt, one is taxable. So you can see at the top right of page 6, there's a 60T. That's how you know you're at the taxable income stream. And on page 7, at the top right is the 40E. So that's representing the daycare space. I'll stick to page 6 right now. The taxable portion of this building, which is just office space, we have 12,269 square feet at $13.26. Again, we are very close on rent with the appellant, but that is how we have the taxable portion of the building. Those are the units which are in the building. We have our standard OFS parameters going down, so same as our last ones, 5.5%, 2% expenses, $7 shortfall, and 6.7% overall capitalization rate, for a total value of taxable of $2,179,000. And then on page 7, we have the daycare space. We have 11,994 square feet at $12.86. So again, it's the exact same parameters as beside it, but we just have to split up those 2 income streams. But you get a total value of $2,064,000 for the daycare portion, which is exempt. If you turn to page 9, you'll see a full income value summary of it all blended together. You can see our total NOI with the parking, the 2 income streams, and the total capitalized value. So that's how we get to that total value and how it is split up through the 3 income streams, if you ever need a dummy sheet to look at to figure out what I'm talking about. Again, we are close on rent, but I did put together 9 comparables in the Pembina and Harrow area. You can see I have an average of $14.93, but again, I don't think rent is a major issue on this one. And we do have a suburban parking, but you'll see that the actuals also do support our request for parking, which I will turn to next. So if you turn to page 12 going forward, we have the actual reported income and expenses. You can see on page 14. You can see on page 14 the actual leases within the building. They work out to approximately, for the office portions, you have ranging between $12.38 and $13.84 a square foot, and then the daycare is paying approximately $14.08 a square foot. You can see at page 16 going forward, we have the commercial, we have the revenue, expenses, repairs, and maintenance. Page 17, more expenses. And then page 18, we have the actual parking lot income. So you can see what the parking lot is gaining, $16,200 in actual expenses. They're reporting $13,000 in repairs and maintenance for the cycle, which seems high, but that's what they're reporting. And again, we're asking for, like I said, if you turn to page 9, $7,200 of net rental income. So whatever expense ratio you're going to use on that $16,200 of revenue, we're showing $7,200 for net income of parking. I believe that is everything I had for this property. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Questions? Back to you.
Yeah, I'll address it in our submission, so no questions.
Harvey?
No questions.
Lori?
I have a question.
Yes.
It's really a methodological question.
No problem.
Can you explain why the income from the parking lot is included if it's on a separate roll entry?
It's not on a separate roll entry, this is on the same roll number, it's just the parking being used, part of the parking, like there's still parking around the building, it's not that there's no parking. They do use that parking lot for more parking as well. We're asking for 20 stalls of rental for the parking lot. It doesn't split it up for exactly how many stalls there are, but that parking is required, like it should just be on one roll number, but I'm trying to represent the fact that they're using this lot and they're paying taxes on it, that 300,000. I'm saying it's required as one economic unit for this building to operate. So we need to represent that income that the owner is getting, right? So we're taking the income from the parking and we're adding it to the building, but we're taking off the value of the lot being used because it's separate, it's not part of the whole roll as one. If that makes sense. Like if this was all, it would be a lot more simple if this was all one roll number, we added the parking and we didn't take off that value, but in cases like this where we need to take the value of that lot off, it's to stay consistent and to represent that little lot across the backlane is required for the owner to get that income.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
What do you mean?
The income that you're talking about, that income is from that lot, not from around the building.
It's, if it's separate, I don't know, from my understanding, it's part of the building as well, like there's parking along the building that lot, that is for.
The 20 stalls are on that lot though, correct?
I didn't count the exact amount of stalls, if it's just from that lot, no.
You saw the amount of stalls that are around the actual building?
I could not be certain as to the exact amount of stalls around the building.
What
from
do
the
they
picture
say,
that I
what
have.
do they say on your sheet for parking?
We
around
have
the
20
building?
outdoor parking as on this roll number.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's on that roll number.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
without the back.
That would be for that roll number on it, but again, I had no, even when I looked up the roll number of that lot across the back lane, there was no separate mailer showing extra income for that one. So I had no evidence that there was more income being made just from that lot.
So is it possible that they're using it as one economic unit, like you said,
Yeah,
but that income you're talking about should be going on the other lot?
there could be separate income from that lot.
But when you're creating the value on the other lot, you're using the parking capabilities of it, are you not?
It's land value.
You're just using land value, not parking?
It's just land value, yeah. From my understanding, it's not being valued as a parking lot, it wasn't, so I didn't have any evidence that it's separate, split up parking lot on its own, that they have enough parking. When I did the parking, I showed it you needed like 40 stalls for a building of this size. So to have that lot was required when I looked at it. When I did the math to see if it had the amount of stalls on its own, it did not. So again, I'm trying to complete this as one economic unit.
So because of the daycare and the office space,
Yes,
Even
well,
though
so
it's
I did the
suburban.
gross floor area of 31,000, you need one stall for every 750 square feet according to the bylaw.
Yeah.
It was working out to 41 stalls, right? So it made sense that that lot was required for one economic unit, and again, I will admit I did it quickly, but it all makes sense to me.
when did that parking bylaw come into place? Do you remember?
2006,
Right.
maybe?
When was the building built?
1966.
So would it not be grandfathered?
Yeah, it's currently under the requirements, and it's a bonus that it has for if it was to sell, it has that lot behind it by the same owner that would, in my opinion, would sell together.
But as a grandfathered building, it doesn't have that same requirement you're talking about.
No, absolutely, they're not gonna shut it down if they didn't have that back lane behind it, but again, I'm looking at it as, what would somebody buy it as of the reference date?
But they would be buying the building itself. They could sell that back property. It's on a separate title. They could sell that as something else.
I don't know exactly how the buying and selling of a building that's grandfathered in works. If they're allowed to do that, they're allowed to do that then. You don't have to take it off. I'm just saying I agree in this case that it makes sense to me to be one economic unit.
Okay, I will hear from your application, your presentation.
So when I actually had this file come across my desk, it occurred to me that I've been looking at this property since the early 90s. So we've got some history on this one. There are a total, by our count, of 56 stalls, including the lot behind. which has an assessed value of $364,000, and as the assessor indicated, we think that it should be removed from the assessed value arrived at by the income approach for the building. Now, we come at it in a different way than the city has. So we're gonna take you to our page 8, and I have, the city has 3 income streams: the exempt OFS, the taxable OFS, and the parking one. I've split it into only 2, the OFS exempt and the OFS taxable, because they show parking income separately under statements, and I'll get into that in a moment. So we took a look at the rental rates in place. We always take a look at what those rents are. There wasn't any need in my mind to vary from those. We're actually quite close, and in fact slightly higher than the city. The city's overall rate on the office space, including daycare, is at $13.36 per square foot. We're suggesting $13.70 based on the actuals. That's consistent with our approach whenever I come in here. So there is, in fact, when you look at the statements, income from both parking and signage. However, the parking income is on a gross basis. So things like snow clearing, the property tax attributable, it's a gross amount, and nothing like that is recovered from the tenants on the parking. So we actually list the previous 4 years of parking revenue as well as signage revenue. There's signs on this building, they get income from it. So we applied the 2017 reported parking revenue at $16,200, but we removed 40%, which is representative of what we think is the expense ratio. It's not an uncommon expense ratio used in appeals for that. So we come up with a net parking amount of $9,720. That includes the stalls behind the building and the stalls in the extra lot behind across the back. We also have incorporated $2,988 for sign revenue, and you'll see that in our mathematics as we get through it. 5.5 vacancies, 7 shortfall. In this particular case, with the age of the building, even with its variant or varied effective age of 1975, we think 7.25% is appropriate here. You recall on the last one was the year 2000, we used 7%. 7.25 is, based on our study, is certainly within that range. We're going to go through the mathematics on page 11, and as I said, I've separated it out into 2 income streams. They're both OFS. One is the daycare exempt, and one is the office taxable. We go through exactly the same parameters we apply to the everything. It looks like a mathematical error in there. It should be 5.5. Uh-oh. I might need a moment to recalculate this. But you'll see as we get towards the bottom of the page on the left-hand side, you'll see other income. That is for parking and signage. And that's the calculations that we went through on page 9. We broke down the parking net income and the signage income, total of $12,708. So if I might have just a moment, I need to recalculate on the basis of a lower vacancy rate. We intended to apply 5.5.
Okay.
I'm not sure where 7 came from. Okay, so if we have our pencils at the ready. We'll go through the OFS taxable, so we have a revised vacancy percentage at 5.5%, which changes the vacancy dollars to 8,582.
For which one?
OFS taxable,
8,000?
yeah, 8,582. Revised effective gross income, 147,459. Revised non-recoverable at 10,322. Shortfall was unaffected, oops, that's not true. So the revised shortfall amount, 4520. Just make sure. Yep. So we have a revised, plus 12,708, my bad. 12,708. We have a revised net operating income, 145,325. So the income value capitalized should be 2 million, I'm gonna round it here, $2,004,000. And then we'll go through the exercise of removing the 364. So the revised vacancy allowance for the OFS exempt dollars.
What was your total after you took the 364 off?
1,640,000.
Thank you.
So the OFS exempt dollars, 9,698, 9,698, for a revised effective gross income, 166,626. Revised non-recoverable, 11,664. Shortfall, 4,821. Let me know if I'm going too fast. So a revised net operating income of $150,141. And a revised capitalized value, 2 million, and I'll round it again, 71,000. For a total of 3,711,000. That includes the deduction for the rear parking lot as well. And I think that is the information we wanted to cover here. Or the revised information we wanted to cover here.
Revised information. Jonathan, questions?
I will put this in a question format quickly, just to clarify on your page 11. There is a slight difference in our square footages for exempt and taxable. And I believe it is because if you look at your page, and you can just confirm with me, if you look at our, let's see, you get the mailer here. There has been a slight change since this building was last updated with the daycare, and if you look at your page 17, We'll note that the St. Maurice Daycare occupies 12,523 square feet, correct?
And that's what we're using on page 8.
Yeah, so yours is, correct for the split right now, ours is slightly different, we're at 11,994. There's a 529 square foot unit that has been, that is
Absorbed.
different than ours, but just, we haven't updated ours yet, so I just wanted that to be known that no matter what's done, his square footage for the split is correct.
And that was in the question format, I want you to know that.
Yeah,
I'm,
he agrees. I
Yes.
think. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, you-
That's all, that's the only thing I noticed, thank you.
Harvey,
No questions.
Lori,
I think I just missed the number. What was the, your total value, your proposed, assessed value for the daycare?
for the daycare,
Yeah.
2,071,000, so 2,071,000.
Thanks.
that was it?
Yeah, thank you.
And that was it for me too. But before we move on to the next property, we're gonna take a short break.
Some declarations.
Hmm?
I said, good, I needed the time.
We can call this meeting back to order. The next property on our agenda will be 1250 Waverly Street, amount of assessed value again. And when you are ready, Jonathan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are looking at roll number 0309119090. This is 1250 Waverly Street. So this is located between Buffalo and McGilvery. You can see the layout of the property on my page 2 and 3. We have a 2020 value of $6,166,000. As you see at the bottom of your brief, I have made a recommendation to reduce the 2020 assessment to $5,540,000. I'll ask if that gets accepted first before I go any
Are you
farther.
touching that?
Yeah, I do not have client instruction on this, so
Or
carry
go
forward.
for it? Okay, carry
Okay,
forward.
thank you. So, this is a office building that was built in 2005. It has a leasable area of 24,751 square feet. I will try to save some time here. If we turn to my page 5, the value of the building we have is $4,973,000. If you know, the premises, rent, all OFS, standard parameters for Waverly. You'll see, so the capitalized value is $4,973,649. That is the building, the value of the building on its own. The appellant actually has a higher overall value for just the building. The issue we have on this one, so we really don't need to look at the building much in my opinion. This issue, I had the same property last time, and the issue is surplus land on this property. So very quickly I'll go through our argument for surplus land. You'll see that I've made a recommendation. It doesn't show on this page, but we have an additional land value on page 5, right under that capitalization value. If you could change that to $566,000. That's what I'm asking for today. So I'm asking for the total of that $4,974,000 plus $566,000. That's how you get my total on the front page of $5,540,000. So again, from my understanding, the major issue or the big difference between the two of us is just no value versus my. Okay, so here, let's turn to my page 7. This will make more sense. I have it all on page 7 for you. So page 7, at the top of it, we have surplus land info. The total size of this lot, if you look at the top left, is 234,000 square feet. The percentage we have put on this property for surplus land is 25%. So we are saying the owner has this building and this large lot. We're saying there's still 25% worth of this lot space as additional value to the owner. They could build more building on it. They could build another building on it and expand. There is value to somebody buying this lot. They're going to look at that extra land value. So that is what we're saying. And you'll see that our model originally, we have a 58,579. So if you follow my chart at the top, that's the surplus land size. You'll see $20.35 was the original land value put on for the model for 2020. So if you take that surplus land size by the model value of $20, you get that 1 million, whatever it was. The original 2020 surplus land, 1,192,000. If you just look down the line, recommended 2020 surplus land value, I'm asking for that 25% of land at $10 a square foot. So the model's taking a decent corner lot here out on Waverly and giving it its full value, in my opinion, of $20. I'm saying, based on some of the issues that, you don't have a separate entrance along McGilvery, it's at the back side of the lot, there's less value per square foot. So I've used comparables in the area that are, in my eyes, not ideal, and I believe that $10 a square foot. Last cycle I asked for something like $14.75 a square foot, And again, it was cut to lower than that, and I just, again, taking that experience with this property, and I believe there is value in the land. How much is probably the question, and I'm lowering that to 566 today. So the major issues from my understanding for this surface plan, I'm not saying, so if you look at my page 7 in this red outline, that's just showing you approximately what 25% is. I would flip that over and take that other side any day of the week and say that's 25% and say that's in the land. Like we're not attributing the whole lot. So one of the issues from last time, first of all, is I don't have it with me. This is just, so I don't know if the appellant is okay with this, but I just have 3 pictures. It's rebuttal for one of the issues for the water main line. It's just a map. If I can hand it out for reference. Do you want me to speak to it now or wait?
Maybe just have a look.
Yeah, it's a picture you have included in yours and then just 2 Google photos. So it's just that same photo you included, just the actual water line, and then I just show the entrance at May 14, and then I just show the entrance at May 18, just the update. That's all I can say. Okay. Yeah. What was last time? So, let me still check. Yeah, so that's what it would be this time. 249, that was last time. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Did you want?
Can I have that number?
Yeah. Sorry. We're making sausage.
Yeah.
Never pretty when it's sausage.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Yeah.
mine looks like-
No, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I looked at that and I thought it was a one. Okay.
Alright, sounds good.
That was enough time, guys?
Yeah, no, that's good.
Hmm?
I don't have anything to hand out, it's fine. I'm just gonna go back to the start and make a slightly adjusted recommendation. 5,298,000.
5,298,000, so you're
Yeah.
bringing the land value down to $5 a square foot?
Right around there, yeah.
Same as it was before.
Nothing wrong with his memory.
Yeah, and so the total value, I agree with the total market value of
And
5,298,000.
you're gonna put that number now?
I don't have time discussion, but we won't propose that.
5,298,000,
We won't make
with an
submission.
adjustment to the value of the
Land.
land.
Yeah.
Everybody's okay with that, or you have questions?
No
No
questions.
questions? Thank you, gentlemen. That concludes the matter for 1250 Waverly. $1601 Buffalo Place, amount of assessed value.
Right.
When you are ready, Jonathan.
We have roll number 030716075000, 1601 Buffalo Place. This is located just a few doors down from our last property, but it's off of Waverly and Buffalo. You can see exactly where it is on page 2 and exterior pictures of the building and the parking lot behind it. But we have a 1978 build, no adjustment to effective age. In 2004, there was 480,000 in interior alterations for the current tenant to occupy the whole space. It is owner occupied. No adjustment to effective age was done though. We're still at that 1978. We have 16,500 gross floor area, 15,580 leasable area, and a basement area of 6,000 square feet. If you look at our page 5, you see exactly how that value is made. This is a much simpler one. We have one income stream. We have main floor space of 9,580 square feet. And we have 6,000 basement leasable. So you'll see our main floor is at $15.12 a square foot, and our basement's at $8.65 a square foot. Using our standard OFS parameters, we work our way to 2,630,000. and I've just put together some comparables for those rental rates. Again, it's owner occupied, so we have no net rents to look at within the building, but Waverly itself, that whole area side of the city does have a lot of comparables, but I'd just like to point to, I have some other comparables built in the 1970s, so comparable 2 and 3, 1971, 1976. You have 5,000 square feet and 18,000 square feet, and you're getting a range of $14 to $16 a square foot. If you go down, comparable 16 and 17, you have 1345 Waverly, close to the subject, built, it's newer, built in 1998. You have 4,000 and 7,000 square feet units for 1550 to 1650. Comparable 22 is 1,000 Waverly, so this is a 1975 build, 4 years, 4-year lease, 16,000 square feet, so a large space at $14 a square foot. Again, those are some 1970 builds, just right in range of that $15 rent for our subject property for the main floor. And then if you turn to page 7, I've also included basement rents. We do have some net basement rents across the city, and if you look at my comparables 10 through 14, you have 1479 Buffalo. So this is a building that is just maybe, 10 buildings down the street on Buffalo, and it actually has basement space that is net leased. They're just basement offices. The building is built in 1968, and you'll see a range of leases in that building from $8 to $11.75 for basement space. So that ranges from 600 square feet units up to a 4,731 square foot unit. I believe those are good comparables for our subject, and yeah, I'll leave the basement at that. Again, same capitalization rate sheet as before. Page 11 is the mailer sent in by the owner, just showing some expenses. And again, it's fully occupied with from my understanding, a book rent in place, so it's not taken into account. And I've included my addenda. That is 1601 Buffalo Place. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Questions?
Just a couple. Subject property is, I'm not gonna say peculiar, but it is a single occupant office building, right?
Yes, currently used as a single tenant.
And in fact, the way it's set up, there's no elevator between the main floor and basement, and the way it's set up, it would necessarily need to continue to be used as a single occupant building, correct?
Yeah, unless they wanted to do interior alterations.
And in fact, on the main floor, there's an opening to the roof atrium down into the basement. There's an opening in the middle of the main floor.
I've never been in this building. I trust your word on it.
Those are my questions.
You can.
No questions?
The
I
question?
have no questions either.
You're gonna correct us on the square footage then?
No, actually, we agree.
Oh. Let's move on to your presentation.
I think that they've made the adjustment, and away we go. I haven't actually measured the opening. So, the first thing I'm gonna do is take you through some pictures of the property. These are from a previous inspection, dating back to 2014. My understanding is that nothing has materially changed in there since then. Page 11 are some exteriors. Page 12. So my copy is a little peculiar, and then I've got some double-sided. Are you all the same, or you got single-sided?
I'm okay
I'm
with-
single.
Okay.
We've single-sided.
Then we're good, okay. I was a little concerned. Page 12, you start to get into the interior shots, and you can see the office finish. On the top of page 13, you can actually see some of the roof atrium that I was referring to. And on page 14, it becomes a little more clear. You actually have, as I said, an opening in the center of the structure going to the basement. There's sort of a spiral staircase there leading downstairs. It's interesting to me that people will have trees growing inside buildings, but it is what it is. Page 15 is some of the additional interior space. 16, same thing. And page 17 is a little bit of the basement area again. There's an exercise room shown at the bottom. There's also a little bit of a crawl space that is not included within the basement area. But I think it's included in the basement area. And so I took a look at some rental comparables in the immediate area. Now, I do note that the assessor has shown a rental comparable in 1150 Waverly. I selected my rental comparables all to be relatively close to the subject. Most of them are,
What page are you reading?
sorry, page 6.
Okay.
trying
I
to.
don't have it.
Yeah, we don't have
So you don't have the double-sided?
You know, page 16.
No.
We don't have a page
We got
six.
5 to
Oh,
7.
we're missing all
We're
this.
Okay,
missing
so.
page six altogether. Somehow.
You're missing every second.
I guess in that circumstance.
Yeah, we're missing every second page.
So it looks to me like this was printed double-sided and then copied single-sided. So in these circumstances, I'm happy to read it verbally, or we
Can
can.
we get a copy? Oh,
I
only
I'm
got
not
the
sure
one
if you would
copy?
object.
I don't have it either.
You don't have it either?
Mine's double-sided too,
Yeah.
mine's single-sided.
So, I'm happy to.
Go ahead and read it on.
Okay. So I took a look at some rental comparables, 1420 Clarence, it's on our page 6, which I guess you don't have. Sorry, and I apologize for that. Built in 1987, 2 separate units.
You might have to do it slow.
Okay, lease rates, so that would be our comparables 1 and 2. Lease rates net per square foot, $925 and $850 for 2325 square feet each.
325?
2,325 square feet each,
Yeah.
925 and 850 respectively. I have 3 rental comparables in 1455 Waverly Street, that's built in 1978. Smaller units, so 3, 4, and 5, 2646 square feet. 2877 square feet, 1696 square feet. The first 2 leases started in April and January of 2017 respectively. The first one is at $811, the second one is at $10 per square foot. The third rental comparable in 1455 Waverly Street is, as I said, was 1696 square feet. The lease started in March of 12, but it escalated in March of 2017. So the escalated rent as of March of 17, which I suspect is a step up, was actually at 574. I have included 6 to 12, so 2, 4, 6, 7 rental comparables in the Waverly Business Park. Built in 1974, these are all office finishes, 100% fitted out offices. Starting with the first one, I'll go down through the sizes first. 12,809 square feet, 18,000 square feet, 12,684 square feet, 2,250 square feet, 7,500 square feet, 7,598 square feet, and 10,400 square feet. I'm gonna pause there just for a second and tell you that the Waverly Business Park is a mixed-use property. It's part industrial, part office. It's got a gym in there, it's got a restaurant in there. I can tell you, it's got a laser tag facility in there. I can tell you that all of these rental comparables, I'm certain, are 100% office because it's our client. I've looked at the rentals. So all of these are 100% office. The leases, starting with the first one, $950 a square foot, $11 per square foot, $875 per square foot, $14 per square foot for the 2250 square foot unit, $750 per square foot, $1250 per square foot for the 7598 square foot unit, and $750 for the 10,400 square foot unit. Now,
What was the last one?
$750 a square foot for the 10,400 square foot unit. Now, these leases, we don't show as stepped up, and they are dating all the way back to 2011 and onward. So I took a look at the 12 rental comparables that you don't have in front of you, and I came up with $10 per square foot for the main floor space, and $7 per square foot for the basement space. None of those rental comparables are basement space.
Pardon me.
Okay, thank you. But again, this is a single occupant building. You cannot rent out the basement on a standalone basis. It's wide open to the upstairs. It's not, whoever's gonna be in this building is gonna be a single occupant building. So $10 a square foot for 9,580 square feet main floor. $7 per square foot for the 6,000 square feet basement space. Works out to an overall rate, $884 a square foot, or a total gross potential rent, $137,800. Now, vacancy is the model rate, shortfall $7, non-recovered we're at 7%. In this case, we actually went with the 7.2%. In this building with its renovations, it was close enough to the 7.25 that I would have applied otherwise. So 7.2 is the same rate that the city has applied.
I guess you didn't give us your workup sheet either.
So page 8, okay. Yes, quite right, it's an even numbered page.
No
So,
even page,
yeah, so let me,
Can we get a copy of this? I'm sorry, but let's just take a break for a minute.
He's also, yeah.
Thank
I don't want him to read the whole thing again.
yeah,
Can we start now,
Yes,
Karen?
please.
Thank you.
so.
I call the meeting back to order.
Yeah.
Which page you want to deal with, 8?
Yeah, I'll just go through the mathematics. You've got the market rent comparables as it's owner occupied in front of you now. I've gone over them. I'm sorry, Jonathan, I don't have an explanation for that. So page 8, we go through the mathematics based on all of what we've covered, and so we're looking for a reduction. That should be saying 0.2. Oh my goodness,
Should I change
it's
that?
not a good day, yeah. So we're looking for a reduction to 1,599,000 rounded. 598, sorry, 599, 1,599,000 rounded.
Yeah,
1,598,708 based on the 7.2% cap rate.
7.2,
7.2, which
20 you mean?
7.20, which is the same as the city as a
Yeah.
point. Unless,
No, we're at 6.55, I think. 6.7. We're at 6.7.
Where are you getting 7.2 from?
The top of
On
this page.
Page 11?
on page 8 at the top, 7.2.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay.
Yeah. The value, they're so close together. Pick one.
We're at that stage. Is that it for your presentation?
Thank you, yes.
Questions?
I have no questions on this one.
Harvey?
No questions.
I have no questions either.
I've got no questions. That concludes the matters for today. Thank you very much.
I did wish to make a very brief summation.
Oh, did you? Okay, summation.
Not related to these properties. It's been a long haul since September, and I wanted to express my appreciation, not just to you folks, but to all of the panel members for the attention on some of these dockets that went lengthy, and for some of these dockets that had a very large number of properties on them. I appreciate the attention that you've given each of the appeals, and I also extend my appreciation to the board staff who have been pushing out orders at a pace that I cannot believe. You've been on top of this, so my thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. And have a good break until we get to bed VAs.
Coming up real soon.